Good morning, if it is morning. This is Sven Gooley, and you're listening to Too Much Scrolling.
And welcome to Too Much Scrolling for October 1st, 2016. We are live at the Blue Box Cafe in Elgin, Illinois, part of the Southgate Media Group 14-hour podcast marathon today. So welcome all of our viewers live on the internet, and those of you who aren't going to hear this till Tuesday, October 4th, you missed out. The parade was amazing, Chip. The flags, all of the nations of the world coming by and showing off all of their outfits. It was fantastic.
It was a parade of many countries there. Hillary Clinton and Barack Obama
holding
and Donald
hands.
Trump will all be here later on. So this is going to be an incredibly large event. And we want to shake our hands. And at the end, I think there's about, 10,000 people here. So we want to make sure
so
we
everybody
say
in
hello
the
to all
back.
of them.
Good morning, everybody. Good morning, everybody in the back. Yes, they're very excited. The crowd went wild.
We can wait around. We can sign a number of autographs at the end.
I've got bumper stickers. You can have a bumper sticker as well. I brought 10,000 of them for everybody in the crowd today.
It's the things that we do.
Not enough. The guy in the back says there's not enough.
This is early. It's only going to build from here.
That's right. We are starting off this amazing parade of wonderful shows from the Southgate Media Group and friends today. You're going to hear all sorts of fun from all the different shows that Southgate Media Group is putting out there. We're making people smile.
And initially we were going for history, but it sounds like already people have tried to tear us down. But we're not going to go for history now. The Guinness Book, I guess we will not even be able to hold that record. So we'll have to do it again. We'll have to have a great
We'll have to come back next week and do it again. This is going to be a weekly thing now. The normal Saturday night at the Blue Box Cafe where Rob Southgate and friends come in and podcast for 2 hours, it's going to become a 14 hours every week kind of a thing.
With wrestling in between.
Oh, the wrestling podcasts are the best. I love the wrestling podcasts. Let's get on to our show, though. It brings us to our Film at 11, our movie of the week. And boy, oh boy, Chip, this week we got another present from Netflix. Netflix delivered on Luke Cage. Nick Cage is a totally different character. Luke Cage dropped on Netflix yesterday.
Did you watch it?
I did. I actually sat down and watched something on TV on a Friday night after coming home from school, and I gotta tell you, Luke Cage is as good as I thought it was going to be. It is as exciting as I thought it was going to be, and boy, is it way more Harlem groovy than I thought it was going to be. Did you get this chance?
I did get the chance to see it. How far did you get along?
I watched 2 episodes, so don't spoil me.
Okay.
I know you probably watched all 13 episodes yesterday.
I didn't watch all 13.
Okay, that's good. I'm glad.
All right, but what I can say about it was this takes place in Harlem.
This is Harlem.
Where Daredevil and Jessica Jones took place in Hell's Kitchen.
So Hell's Kitchen is one neighborhood in New York, and this is Harlem in New York. A totally different vibe.
I wouldn't necessarily say there's a different vibe. There's different neighborhoods. It's important to recognize this takes place in the Marvel Universe. Mm-hmm. So the Marvel Universe had the event that happened in the Avengers movie,
yes,
where the aliens came down and
the event.
The big whales came down through the porthole.
And
that Tony Stark eventually closed up with a nuclear bomb.
That's right.
But they left a whole bunch of stuff when they dropped dead immediately. Mm-hmm. So this plays a pivotal part of this. I never watched S.H.I.E.L.D. Did you watch S.H.I.E.L.D.? Is that what it's all about?
Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. You've got a show about Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., so you've watched that show.
So my assumption is that show is about the technology. And I think that will eventually play part into this show right here.
Now, you said that Harlem and this show don't have a different vibe to you than
Hell's Kitchen and Harlem. They're both place in New York. So you have to remember that while Spider-Man, I guess, is now part of this universe, Spider-Man's playing in another neighborhood.
That's right.
And the Fantastic Four, while owned by a different company for this,
they're in a very different neighborhood.
But they're here too. They're just not going to show their stories.
All that stuff happens in New York.
So what we've got is this mega story, and then we get the Luke Cage story that takes place here. And I will say initially that the casting they picked for this show is as great as you could ever imagine. They did such a great job.
Alfie Woodard is maybe a politician on the make, which is a very interesting character. She does a great job.
We've got the gentleman who played in House of Cards, Remy.
Yes.
Who plays Cottonmouth.
Yes.
He plays a great bad guy.
Very good bad guy. Not quite the same as Fisk from the Daredevil, but
you're not there.
I'm not there yet. He's going to get to the Fisk level.
I'm not spoiling it for
Don't
you.
spoil it for me. Don't spoil it.
What I can tell you is I actually got through, I think I got through either 8 or 9 of the episodes.
You got 8 or 9 hours of this watched yesterday?
Well, I last night.
Wow.
So I can tell you.
That's why he slept in.
This is a nice build. I do not think it's as good as Daredevil. I don't think it's as good as Jessica Jones.
Okay.
That doesn't mean it's bad.
Okay.
Because you've got to recognize we've got an entire mega story taking place,
right,
and they're dropping little stories. So we know there's a character that, for our universe here, in the Netflix universe, is Jessica Jones. No, excuse me, is the Night Nurse. Well, she eventually makes a cameo.
Sure.
And not to spoil anything, because there's no spoilers here. But my assumption is eventually she's going to set up the superhero hospital.
Right.
Which is what she plays in the comics. So this is a beautifully written story. It's got a lot of flavor.
And a lot of music. Did you notice a lot of music as a theme to the Luke Cage?
They do, but it's certainly a mixture of hip-hop and not quite 70s. In fact, Tarantino has already said, oh, it's too bad they didn't do 70s Luke Cage.
Uh-huh.
Well, Tarantino would have done 70s Luke Cage.
Right.
This character, who was a very, developed in the blaxploitation period, jive turkey type of stuff.
Sweet Christmas,
was basically moved to a modern character. He was a leader in the Avengers and all this other stuff. Why? Because Marvel recognized a long time ago they need diversity of characters, and any genre, any person could be represented in a comic, and Luke Cage is the latest version of that. Very, very good. I highly recommend it if you have any interest in it.
I highly recommend Luke Cage. It is a very good TV show, 13-hour movie, just like Daredevil was. It's catching me in a different way than Daredevil. I'll agree with you on that, but I think it's just as good. What I'm really excited about is tomorrow, Sunday, October 2nd, we're going to see the premiere of Season 2 of Ash vs. Evil Dead on Starz.
You say we like I'm there.
No, I say we like me and the 10,000 people that are here, not you, because you don't watch TV.
That's right. So this obviously is a great big fan
Oh
base.
my gosh. Anything with Bruce Campbell at this point. If you have Bruce Campbell in your movie, you can make a movie like Spider-Man. And as long as Bruce Campbell's in it, I'll watch Spider-Man.
How wonderful.
I know, because Sam Raimi made Spider-Man, and he put a Bruce Campbell in that movie on purpose. This is Ted Raimi. This is the brother who is directing now, but oh my gosh, I am so psyched for the next season of Ash vs. Evil Dead. Those of you who don't watch it, who don't watch TV, Ash vs. Evil Dead is a superhero comedian who goes through horror movies in a funny way. This guy.
So that's going to be opening up tomorrow on Starz.
Yes.
Did you watch anything this week?
I had to prepare. I had to prepare for Season 2 of Ash vs. Evil Dead by catching not only parts of Season 1, which I watched a third time this week, but I also went back all the way back to Army of Darkness.
When did that come out?
Army of Darkness, I believe, is 93.
Okay.
It's 13 years ago.
And what's it about?
It is about this character defeating the Deadites, these zombies that are coming to destroy the world. But he's in the old-timey knights and ladies time of the year, and he is battling these bad guys with his chainsaw hand and his boomstick. Those of you who are fans know what I'm talking about, and Chip doesn't. Did you watch Army of Darkness in the 90s?
I did not.
Okay. You got to be a fan of Bruce Campbell, Sam Raimi, Ted Raimi to get it. But once you get it, it's just some of the most fun horror. I don't like horror as a genre.
Well, it's a comedy.
This is a comedy in a horror movie, and that makes a huge difference. What have you been watching this week?
I watched the movie Sisters.
Sisters are doing it for themselves.
So we have Amy Poehler and we have Tina Fey.
Tina Fey and Amy Poehler.
Who play sisters.
Yes.
This is very much like a Saturday Night Live movie. Mm-hmm. This came out last year. My wife laughed at it. She giggled quite a bit.
Okay.
I found it not bad. I didn't think it was great.
Okay.
But it was very much in the line of most of the Will Ferrell movies and things of that nature. So mildly entertaining, fun, comedy. But certainly they were playing characters they are too old to play the characters that they were to play in this movie.
Okay.
But this was their movie and they got to shine. And what do we get? We get a whole bunch of dirty jokes with young ladies telling them.
And they switched roles in this one, where the Amy Poehler played the straight sister, while Tina Fey was the wild and crazy sister in this one, right?
Correct.
Yeah, that's a big change from what they usually do when the two of them play off of each other, which they've been doing for almost 30 years. They usually have Tina Fey be the straight, not going wild sister. So they decided in this one to do a little role reversal.
And Tina Fey just looks a lot more reserved. Obviously, if you're doing improv, there is no reserve for anybody.
That's right.
But between the two, she always comes across as a little more reserved.
So giving her that character usually works out.
Sure. But a lot of this is, hey, wouldn't it be funny if I did this? All right, let's tape it 10 times and we'll make edits and make it funny.
So it was just a fun game that they were playing, and they put it in a movie theater.
With lots of cameos from a lot of different people.
Okay.
And all sorts of things happening. This, like I said, it's a Will Ferrell movie without Will Ferrell.
Very good. Opening this week, we got lots of movies. It is movie starting season now. October 1st. It's fall, time to start watching some movies.
And there are a lot of movies. In the last month or so, we've been trying to pick and choose whatever. I just kept adding movies here because we've got a mixture of bigger movies that will to perform, and then we've got a lot of independent type stuff coming up here too.
So the first one is the big one, I think. That's Middle School, the Worst Years of My Life.
Well, this is aimed at younger kids.
Or middle school teachers.
Well, that could be the case too. So what we have is this movie where, they want to break out of the mold because, daggone it, Steve, you just don't allow them to express themselves enough.
That's right.
As a drama teacher, you don't allow these kids to express themselves enough.
As the drama teacher who puts them on stage and forces them to express themselves, I think I'm doing a pretty good job of letting them do that. But
but maybe some of the other teachers.
The stereotype of teachers, and that's where movies and TV shows really drive me crazy sometimes, is that stereotype of teachers keeping us down.
Are you saying there's a stereotype of white males on television?
I think there's a stereotype of all sorts of people.
It's a good thing my wife helped me get dressed this morning because I wouldn't be able to do
it. This one looks like a good one. I am definitely going to get in and watch Middle School, the Worst Years of My Life. I've seen this movie live a couple of times now, and I know how hard middle school is. This is going to be a fun look at that. You found one that's not quite a fun look at things. That's called Friend Request.
This is sort of the Facebook from hell.
Yeah, it's another one of those. It's the 21st century. You're putting all of your information out there. We're live on Facebook right now. Good morning, Zach. And we are here, and we're putting ourselves out there. And terrible, scary things could happen. This is one of those terrible, scary kind of movies.
It could be. This is obviously that time of year when the horror movies come out and the scary stuff comes out. Mm-hmm. And this is definitely a modern scary. We've got another movie coming out called The Girl on the Train. The Girl on the Train deals with... It's based on a book.
This is the book of 2015. A lot of people read The Girl on the Train. This is finally the movie version of that.
And it stars a divorcee.
Oh.
Oh, my.
And
then all sorts
very racy.
All sorts of things happen. What can we say?
Yeah, this is a very popular book. I haven't actually gotten to this one. It's on my list of books that I want to get to in the next few months to talk about here on the show. But it's very similar to that Gone Girl that we saw in a movie a few months ago is that what's going to happen? It's a thriller. It's kind of the Alfred Hitchcock of the 21st century.
Okay.
Where we don't know what's going to happen and we have to solve the issue.
So something for everyone, right?
Something for everyone, especially if you bring your girlfriends and your wives to a movie. This is probably the movie that they're going to ask to go to. You found one called The Birth of a Nation.
Well, I think this is the biggest release of the week.
Really?
Absolutely. This is about Nate Turner. This is about his rebellion down in southeastern Virginia. So are you familiar with Nate Turner's rebellion?
I do not know anything about Nat Turner's rebellion.
Okay. So this basically takes place right after the Revolution, the American Revolution. If we think of the American Revolution ending in Yorktown, that's where Cornwallis basically surrenders, and the Americans gain their independence. That happened in 1770 or 7. Oh, good grief! Let's cut that out. So that happened. The American Revolution ends. I think it's 1780 or something. I know there's not much I can do about that. All right. So right after this. We have a group of people who did not experience the freedom or the liberty that came in. If we look at American history as sort of a exploration of having people experience liberty, this is an area that part of our population didn't experience. We had slaves, didn't we? I shouldn't say we, but there was slavery going on. This is Southampton County, Virginia. While this is not perfectly where Iverson was from. This is close to it. This is Norfolk, Suffolk, Williamsburg, Virginia Beach. We're a little bit to the left of there. So Nate Turner has a rebellion in, 1831 that resulted in the death of 55 to 65 white people in retaliation to enraged white militias. The response of that was 200 black people lost their lives. So the things I can immediately think about right there are, in Smithsonian Magazine this month, there's an article about the Great Dismal Swamp, which is in northeastern North Carolina, which is close to this. A lot of slaves escaped there and lived in this just terrible, terrible land. This is up in once again, southeastern Virginia. And this is where, between Richmond and Williamsburg, you can actually take a road where they have all those antebellum houses and those plantations and things like that. Mm-hmm. So you can kind of relive that history. And what took place contemporary of this that I found very interesting is there was a spy, a black man who was a spy during the Revolutionary War. And he was Lafayette's, General Lafayette. Mm-hmm. So he was General Lafayette's spy. He basically fed bad information to the British, good information to the Americans, and that's how we won the war. But anyway, after the war, he remained a slave. It took many, many years for him to be emancipated from this. And Lafayette actually wrote a whole series of letters to Washington basically saying, hey, listen, you cannot be a free country and have slaves. So this is all taking place around this time. So Yorktown, where the surrender happened, is not too far from here. Nate Turner's rebellion takes place right here. This is, James Amistad Lafayette, who was the black man who was the spy, was right around that area too. I mean, he eventually moved up to Maryland, it seemed like. But this is part of history. This is released now because it will be released in February in Blu-ray.
I see.
But this is an important part of American history, and it's part of that struggle so that everyone can experience the liberties that we were supposed to be able to get from the beginning.
America is built on all of these stories. The Birth of a Nation sounds like a great history of all of the really important things that were happening.
Did you watch the trailer?
I don't watch trailers.
Okay, this is one of the.
You don't watch TV. I don't watch trailers.
This is one of the most disturbing images they have in there. They have a little kid exiting the front door, and behind him, like a dog, has a chain around the little girl. So this is really kind of what was accepted at one time as reasonable and proper. I mean, my goodness, we have changed so much. But you can imagine what the struggles are still today. But anyway, fascinating story. I look forward to seeing this. I will definitely see this week.
All right. There is a movie called The Lennon Report about the... Okay, a question from the audience.
I'm so sorry
yes,
to
Rob
interrupt.
Southgate from Southgate
But
Media Group is
I have a
here.
question about Birth of a Nation.
Yes.
It's not a remake of the original, the D.W. Griffith film. It's different.
I don't know if it is or not.
What you just described is not the same, but I thought it was like an updated version, because that D.W. Griffith one is like Klan propaganda, if you've ever seen it.
Oh.
It was listed in the AFI Top 100 Films of All Time. It's rough. It's an interesting film. The first half is pretty cool. Second half is like, and here comes the Klan to save the day.
Oh, boy.
Yeah, so...
Well, I can continue to go this Tidewater area. This is about Nate Turner. So this is certainly not, this is a
And
different
that
movie.
might be what the original is about. I can't remember. I just remember when it got to the second half, I went, oh, wow.
But he was a literate slave, so that means he knew how to read. This was one of the reasons why they did not want to teach. They wanted to only teach so much to a person. This area is fascinating because Tidewater, Virginia, and eastern North Carolina is a different demographic than Deep South.
Right.
And a different demographic than Appalachian. And we would consider ourselves legacies of the Northeast as far as how we look at the world, as far as the Midwest would.
Right, absolutely.
So these are different, we're almost different, not different countries, but different thought processes.
Right. Different stance that we started from. A different point of origin as far as how we think of things.
We've got 1,000 different Protestant groups fighting, and we've got all the stuff. I'm talking about the Midwest area.
Right.
But if Appalachian, we would say that the Scott-Irish legacy from there. And don't I'm going to live in utter poverty, but do not come and tell me what to do. Get off my land.
Right.
And then the Tidewater is a little different because in my experience, my understanding is, we're very much rules. Like there's a decorum on how we do things, and do not break the decorum. And even though something may be wrong, they allowed it. And it's think about the legacy that comes from there. You got Thomas Jefferson, George Washington, James Madison, George Mason. There's a whole group of intellectual groups coming from the Tidewater area, yet they still had slavery.
Right. Actually, what's interesting about that, I'm sorry, I'm not
No.
hijacking your show.
Yes, you are.
I wanted to ask about Birth of a Nation because I've seen the original, and the trailers look good, and I'm just really interested. Are they trying to remake it, and are they going to add the Klan element to it? Who knows?
I don't think the Klan was
looking at
available.
his watch.
The Klan wasn't there at that time.
Right, but in that movie, it is, and I think that they
This takes
inserted
place
it.
in, what is it? Turner is killed, was it 1831?
I'm going to leave so I don't
yeah.
hijack any longer. We can talk about it afterwards.
Turner was killed, I think, in 1831, like November. So the rebellion happened. That's exactly. The rebellion happens in August 21st, 1831. Turner was killed November 11th, 1831.
It seems like a very interesting conversation that this film is going to spark. There's no question about that. This seems like a very strong film that will...
And this is American history. This is truly Black history, or Black American history is American history.
That's true.
And it's important to recognize that we can talk about the philosophy of building the United States and the great experiment that we live in today. But we also are dealing with all the struggles and the things that were neglected at the time.
The backs of the people that this country was built on. There's no question about that. We've got the Lennon Report, which is it's a true story about the moments after John Lennon was shot, seen through those who lived it.
This seems very interesting. Do you remember the news reports when John Lennon was?
No, I remember.
Were you too young?
I think I was too young.
Okay. I do remember it. You do remember it. Okay, this certainly wasn't one of those moments in my life, other than I knew that John Lennon was part of the Beatles. I knew it was a very important band, and I was familiar with the music.
Okay.
So at that point, but anyway, seems to be a nice story that I would have interest in, part of history, and just kind of exploring my knowledge of it.
The next one is about The Clash. So you found lots of music movies this week too. The Clash, the band of London. It's called London Town.
This is 1970s London.
Uh-huh.
So if we went through the Beatles and
Uh-huh.
we got the rise. All right, so the Beatles went from this rock band to ultimately the birth of that would be this glam rock stuff that comes with the Queen and a whole bunch, Yes, and stuff like that. The rebellion of that was punk scene, and that was a Clash, and that took place in the 70s. This takes place as the backdrop of this story. Once again, that's kind of grabbing a piece of history, and rock has evolved, if it's around even now. So anyway, this looks interesting.
The Greasy Strangler. This is the story of a disco walking tour. So, boy, you got music this week on the movie theaters.
This is a bad B movie.
Okay.
This is released in limited run, and what I mean by limited run, maybe online only.
The Greasy Strangler. You might want to write that down, Rob. It seems like something you want to watch.
This is awful. I shouldn't say that. I said that, but there's a lot of entertainment with awful.
Oh, I love B movies.
So I think that you will find this is one that you're going to want to look at. Go to our notes, look at the trailer, and immediately you'll say, I will not sit through this, or I will sit through this. We'll go ahead and say that Rob Southgate will probably sit through this.
The Greasy Strangler is a great title. There's no doubt about that one. The next one is Phantasm Remastered. This is the 1979 movie Phantasm.
All right, so Phantasm Ravager is coming out.
Okay.
This week, but what has happened is Bad Robot, which is J.J. Abrams, has gone back and they've remastered the 1979 version of Phantasm. Did you ever watch that?
I've never seen this movie.
I haven't either, but this is the final movie comes out, and they basically took the old movie and brought it up to 4K standard.
4K 1979 movie.
So there's interest here in the sense of taking something that was back in time and making it something that we could see today in all of its glory.
All of its glory,
70s style. Think of the late 70s, early 80s style. The music of the time. In fact, the trailer for Phantasm I have in my Halloween mix.
Okay.
Because it's so awesome. There's just a great sound to it and very scary.
Very cool. Very good. There's so many movies coming out. You can go to our show notes. You can take a look at all of these titles, look at all of these trailers.
We didn't even get to all the movies. There's still more coming out this week. But I think that you have a nice round, and you pick your flavor.
Pick your flavor. There's so many different kinds of movies. It's October. We've got the scary movies in there. We've got the historic dramas. We've got some comedy in there. It's a good week to go to the movies, that's for sure.
Great week.
Brings us to our book of the week, and our book this week is called A History of the World in 6 Glasses. This is written by Tom Standage, and this is a really fun look at world history. You know, I don't know a lot about world history. You are the history expert. Did you get a chance to look at this book at all?
You use the word expert like it means something. I know a lot of history.
Yeah.
And the deal is being able to draw connections. So I got through the first chapter on this, or first couple chapters on it.
The beer chapter?
The beer chapter.
Oh, yeah. Beer and civilization have certainly grown up together. And
sure. I guess the ultimate beverage would be Adam's Ale, water. But we couldn't drink water at the time.
That's right.
Because water had pee in it.
Water could be
everything.
hazardous to your health. There's no doubt about that.
So we get the rise of...
Beer is a great alternative to water, ladies and gentlemen. Kids who are listening out there, make sure that you understand that water today is much safer than it was back in the day. And beer was a great alternative in that history because boiling that water, distilling all of the things out of it that we didn't want to have, beer had protein. Beer has everything you need. We talked to Jim Cook a few months back. Jim Cook, the founder and brewer of Sam Adams. One of the famous things that he has to say is there's food in the beer, there's no beer in the food. You could live on beer. You wouldn't want to. Guinness is a very thick stout that you can cut with a knife.
Thick?
Yeah.
Thick?
Oh, yeah, it's a thick drink.
Guinness?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Delicious.
Yeah, I know meaty beers. Anyway, with beer, what you end up having is children drink beer, adults drink beer. They cut the beer.
That's right.
You could dry grains. The fermentation initially was by chance.
It was accidental. Beer was developed accidentally. It was more like it was discovered than it was invented, which is one of my favorite quotes from this book.
All right, so then we move down to the Mediterranean area, and what are we going to talk about?
Then chapter 2 is all about wine. That's our second drink here. And wine took over and became the drink of the sophisticated. And it still kind of remains that today. If you're a beer drinker, you are not as sophisticated as a wine drinker because of the history of where the grapes came from and how more intense the flavor is.
I'm going to argue that the reason is because Romans taught us that wine, which grew in their area, and the Greeks and Turkey, because they viewed it because it was from their area, that it was superior to beer. Those people up north who drank the beer.
That's right.
We get some legacy of the Romans right there. So where do we go for the next one?
The third drink is coffee.
Kathy.
Welcome to the Blue Box Cafe in Elgin, Illinois, by the way, coffee bar and deli,
Kathy.
where coffee is still king. Coffee was developed right after all of those beer and wine developments.
And where do we find coffee?
Coffee is found mostly in the arid areas, Colombia and
the Americas, right?
The Americas and in Africa. There's a lot of really good African coffee. Coffee developed as a great way to wake up in the morning because
that's the best part of waking up, isn't it?
Because the caffeine, that drug of choice, is the thing that keeps me going in a day, I'll tell you that much.
So what's our fourth?
Fourth, we got into distilled liquors because it was a very...
You can't get enough juniper in your life.
It was a very important part of traveling by boat to have enough alcohol to get to where you were going. And beer goes bad. Wine doesn't go bad. It gets better with age. But it was so much easier to carry a small amount of distilled liquor than a large vat of beer or wine.
So, in fact, that's a prohibition part. Rum eventually became one of the distilled growths from that because they had lots of rum. Down in New Orleans. They had to get rid of that's where hurricanes and stuff like that are made, those drinks.
Right.
Anyway, if you ordered vodka or something like that, you had to take the rum with it.
That's right.
Obviously, they needed something to do it. So now we have fifth. What's our fifth?
Our fifth is tea. As we know here in American history, tea played a big part of how we created this country. We didn't want to pay our taxes, including the taxes on rum and tea, and we had ourselves a revolution.
We didn't want to pay for the French Indian War.
That's right.
All right, so obviously we exactly. So we got tea from India.
It started in India. The British really took off with their love of tea from India when they were in charge of India, and they are still huge tea drinkers in England. And we here in this country, we like our tea, but not nearly as much as the British.
Well, I'm from the South. We still drink lots of tea
There's
down
lots
there.
of tea in the
They
South.
put a lot of sugar in that tea.
That's right.
But anyway, it's tea. All right, so what do we have as our sixth?
Our final beverage in our world history of 6 glasses is Coca-Cola.
Straight sugar.
Coca-Cola
Sugar and cocaine, baby.
is the best thing that's happened in drink history in a lot of people's lives.
It gives you pep.
And it certainly keeps you awake. That's for sure. Coca-Cola is a worldwide brand. There is no country in the world that does not know Coca-Cola. And the sweet addictiveness of all of those things that they put into that.
It's got caffeine. It's got sugar.
I'd be willing to bet that we can find a Coca-Cola here in the coffee bar. I bet you that there's Coca-Cola. I bet Chris sells a lot of Coca-Cola along with his coffee because there's those of us who drink a lot of coffee and there's those of us who drink a lot of Coca-Cola. And generally speaking, those two groups don't mix very much.
Well, I don't know about that. My daughter actually says, well, Dad, I like coffee now.
Good.
So, my goodness, as a young person,
I started drinking coffee at 13.
Starbucks has planted their seeds early.
Seattle has taken over the world. You can go to Paris and get a Starbucks. Yeah.
All right,
Excellent.
that sounds like a fascinating book.
It's a
I've
great
enjoyed the
book.
first part.
It's a great book. I really recommend everybody go out and read this book. If you know anything about world history, if you don't know anything about world history, this is a great introduction to a real whirlwind tour of the world history based on these 6 beverages.
I love this this idea of taking something like this and then creating little needles of information to keep you interested in.
I loved it. And you can go to our
Good story.
website, amazon.toomuchscrolling.com, and we can find Kelly. Good, Kelly. We're going to buy the world a Coke. Thank you, Miss Baker. We're going to buy the world a Coke. Have a Coke and a smile.
Live in perfect harmony.
She's always
right there.
smiling. She is constantly smiling. She is the happiest person I've ever met. Thank you, Kelly, for watching. Good morning. Good morning, everybody out in live on Facebook Live from the Southgate Media Group.
We have all these great smartphones. What should we be using? What should we be trying to use on our?
Well, this becomes a question
smartphones.
this week. Our appetite this week. I had decided that we were going to talk about Allo.
Allo by Google.
From Google. This
Google.
is the new messaging app from Google.
From the company Alphabet.
From the Alphabet company that has
That we call Google.
a piece called Google to it. Yes, it's still very
What's the
confusing.
nickname
isn't
for
it?
Alphabet? Google.
Yeah, it's still very confusing, isn't it? Allo
All right, so
is their new messaging app.
So many of us who have had iPhones use something called FaceTime. And if you don't use FaceTime, you probably use Skype. So this is an alternative. If you have Google, Android, you would use Allo.
This is a texting
I am so
messaging
sorry.
app.
I'm thinking of Duo.
You're thinking of Duo,
I'm
which
thinking
is
of
the
Duo.
other video messaging app. This is a text messaging app from Google. It just rolled out last week, and Google had promised us that it was going to be full of security. It was going to be the most secure messaging app that you can ever use, ever, and turns out that they didn't put in those security features on the first week.
Why would you need encryption? What are you trying to hide, Steve?
That's right.
What are you trying to hide, Steve?
They said it was going to be
You've got
encrypted
nothing
from
to hide.
end to
That's nothing to be
end,
afraid of.
and this has not come out that way.
As
a
your
matter
deals
of
go out.
fact,
What does this "I love you" mean? You said it to your wife.
as a matter of fact, Edward Snowden himself has put out a message on the internet saying, don't download Allo from Google because they are actively keeping all of those messages on their Google servers this week, and that could be hazardous to our liberty.
Well, it is interesting. This idea of having cross-platform texting messages, which basically means, I don't know, you can go across borders.
That's right.
And that's where this would come in to play. And the ability to, well, I don't know, most phones have an ability to text. This is basically saying you could use it. Can you use it on your browser?
This is not able to be used on the browser. That's
Why
one of the
not?
other problems with Allo, is it is only available on phones. You cannot
Really?
you can't get it on your iPad, you can't get it on your Amazon tablet, you can't get it on anything but a phone.
Why would we need this right now?
This is not an app that I'm going to recommend for you right now. There are so many messaging apps out
Sure.
there.
I use Google Voice. You can text on Google Voice.
And we use Google Hangouts all the time. Google Hangouts is a great alternative. There's actually a conspiracy theory on Allo that says that this is Google putting out a product that's no good so that we go running to Google Hangouts, which works really well.
Google Hangouts does work well.
It works
In fact, Steve and I
fantastically.
that's how we contact with each other.
That is what we've chosen to use as our messaging app between the two of us.
Sure. And I don't use it really with, someone asks once in a while will text me on it. But I use Google Voice for my text.
And the integration between Google Voice and Google Hangouts is fantastic. There is no integration with Allo.
I can use Google Voice and Google Hangouts on my browser. I can use it through my smartphone. What's the use of Allo?
I don't know. I don't know. I thought this was going to be the most exciting app of the year. It was presented to us at Google I/O, not Google Allo. Google I/O, they said this was going to be a fantastic innovation in messaging app, and it really so far has not been that.
Duo is awesome because
Duo is awesome.
you can FaceTime or you can Skype among different platforms.
That's right.
It is awesome.
And Duo has worked out really well for us. We've used that.
The weakness of Duo is that it's not. It didn't take place of. It's not integrated through Hangouts.
I think that we're going to see all of this stuff being integrated, and I believe they're going to come up with a third name, something other than Hangouts, something other than Allo, something other than Duo, and we're going to see that in coming months. So
I think it's going to be called IKEA.
There you go. We'll put it together ourselves when we get home. That's excellent. So don't download Google Allo. It is not recommended, even though it is our appetite, our app of the week. It's a negative. Don't bother with Allo. Go to Google Hangouts. If you haven't tried out Google Hangouts and Google Voice is my voicemail system for everything. I've got
I
it
use
set
Google
up.
Voice quite a bit. In fact, it's so important to me because it will. Steve leaves me a message.
A voicemail message.
It will translate. It will come
Transcribe.
through as a text. It will send me an email of it.
I barely listen to voicemail messages ever anymore because it does that transcription, and that transcription is pretty right on. There are some times where it doesn't
perfect.
understand. It's not perfect.
Nothing's perfect.
But it is good enough that I can understand what the message was without having to listen to the voicemail.
Probably better than Siri could transcribe
It is definitely better than Siri. Brings us to our Now the News, our news segment.
It's all about standards, baby.
It's all about standards. Google, Facebook, Amazon, IBM, and Microsoft are working together to make the robots smarter so that when they come to take over, they will be ready.
Less scary Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Very scary. Very scary.
They're looking to make artificial intelligence, basically market it and present it in a less scary way. Because obviously Steve Hawkins was basically saying that Terminator is going to come get you.
Yeah, Stephen Hawking has come out and said, please be very careful. If we make artificial intelligence, it will be the greatest and last thing humanity does.
So the objective of the partnership is to address opportunities and challenges of AI technologies, basically present the benefits of this. Who is missing from this, Steve?
Google?
Apple.
And Google's on there. Google's the first one on there. It's Apple that's missing from this.
Apple historically has abstained.
Yeah.
And then comes in at the end.
And then comes in at the end and does it better afterwards.
But there's two parts to this. One, creating the standards could move everything forward. It also could inhibit some of the innovation that comes from it.
Yeah.
But you can imagine. Go back to the United States. We're building trains that go across the United States. If every train track has a different width to it and all that other stuff, certainly doesn't make it universal. So they had to create some standards, and eventually they did. This is part of that. So there's good and bad to this. One means that we can all work on some standards. Yeah, the bad part is it could inhibit some innovation. So there we go.
Speaking of standards, the banks are adopting the blockchain faster than expected.
We tend to not talk enough about Bitcoin. And Bitcoin was usually presented as a currency. We've kind of avoided it because it is a very complicated issue. But it does allow you to transfer things, one, anonymously.
Right.
But the other thing is you can transfer ownership of something.
Very securely, too.
And banks, I think that's going to be their future. Their future is not going to be housing your money. Their futures could be transferring, your property, your identity, and trying to find a way that's much more secure than what we're currently dealing with. Because every week or so, we get another massive data break.
Yep.
Whether it's Target or Yahoo or somebody.
Whatever company's next up on the chart this week.
And you get a new card sent to you,
Yep.
and you have to redo stuff. Eventually, you don't have enough passwords, and now you got some crazy passwords you would never know what they are.
Password manager. LastPass. I'm telling you. All that stuff is going to happen. The security is a big part of this internet thing that we've been building for so long, and security of all of these AIs, all of the cars driving themselves, and all the light bulbs that I have connected to the internet right now. All of that stuff, we need to very, very carefully think about security.
And we are in the middle of the revolution, so we're in the pain part. So this is the pain of getting to the next level.
No doubt. The next level in space is getting to Mars, and Elon Musk wants to get us to Mars.
Steve, have you read any books that possibly could have inspired anything?
Yes! Elon Musk is making a spaceship, and he's going to call his spaceship the Heart of Gold.
And where would I get that reference from? I don't even get that.
Yes, you do. That is the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. That is the book that I read more often than any other book. It gives me so much hope for the future, and Elon Musk also gives me so much hope for the future. This is Tony Stark. The character of Tony Stark in Iron Man was partly based on the idea of this real human, Elon Musk. He has all the money, he's got all the plans. Hopefully he'll make all of these things happen for us.
What is so interesting about it is that Elon Musk obviously is pushing a number of different areas. Mm-hmm. And because he's pushing a number of different areas, he's got to communicate to the masses.
Right.
And he's chosen to be very playful about it.
Yes.
And what a little wink and a nod. I mean, pretty soon you'll have they'll name something like the Enterprise.
Right. Well, you know that there's a mode in the Tesla called the ludicrous speed mode. There's a ludicrous speed mode on the Tesla taken directly from Spaceballs. This guy is a nerd of the best sarcastic quality. I am a big fan of Elon Musk.
I'm not going to say it's sarcasm. I'm going to say it's playfulness because
Absolutely.
I think he's winking at you. Mm-hmm. And having a lot of fun with the things that he's building. Who knows? I mean, it seems like battery technology is going to rise by leap years over the next 10 years.
Yeah, we've talked about that so many times.
It's going to change how we transfer power and electricity.
That's right.
And when we get it, and getting it off time versus on time, and
that's right.
Blah, 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 blah. I mean, it seems like it's a lot of fun what he's doing. But anyway, this was his latest wing to you.
Nice. I got to get my Elon Musk T-shirt. Yes, Chris.
He's applying what he's learning. I mean, we've always done that with like space and war. We apply that to everyday use, and he developed a battery for Mars and the moon, and now he's applying that for home.
That's
Correct.
right.
That storage. I mean, that's what he's doing.
Correct.
He is.
It's not like it's just like it's not coming up. It's therefore he came up with this idea and said, hey, we can use this here and there.
That's right. He is working on all that battery technology.
And we've mentioned a number of times on our show, I think the innovation is going to be, if we go back to horse and buggy, downtown Elgin was horses dropping poop everywhere, and we get all the varmints and everything. So we get automobiles. And automobiles, basically, we don't have that issue the same way. We may have rats and stuff, but they're dealing with other stuff. They're not dealing with horse apples. Right. Well, the next innovation could be, well, we take our electricity and we build it one area. We deal with the pollution in one area, and all the cars get to run around here cleanly. Now, I don't know when that will happen. It could happen quickly. It could happen a long time from now. But it seems like that is the next step to getting to a part where maybe we can find the Tesla energy somewhere.
There we go. The next innovation is going to come on Tuesday, October 4th. The day that this show is going to be put onto the internet for all the people who aren't watching live. Good morning, everybody watching live on Facebook and on Periscope. Google is going to show us the future on Tuesday, October 4th. They're going to show us their next batch of things that I'm going to stand in line with money in my hand and say, shut up and take my money.
And this is going to be the Google Home, do you think?
I believe they're going to show us Google Home.
And this is the thing very similar to Alexis?
This is the Amazon Echo Alexa.
Okay, Alexa.
And they are going to show us this device. They showed us a preview of it at Google I/O in the summer, but they are going to finally give us the information that we need to give them $130 so that we can have more microphones in our house and we can talk to Google directly just by saying the key words like Xbox or Alexa
Steve's
or
gonna run around
Siri or
computer.
Cortana. Yeah, I want my house. I want my house to be Star Trek. I want to say, computer, turn on the lights, and I want the lights to come on. I'm this close.
Computer, mute music.
Oh, I do that with the Xbox already. Xbox, mute, and the Xbox mutes.
All right, and do you think there's going to be some innovations maybe on the phone?
Yes, I believe there are going to be 2 new phones. I believe they are not going to be called Nexus phones. I think they're dropping that name, Nexus. These are going to be called Pixel phones, which it sounds like a great Adam Sandler movie. The Pixel phone.
That'll be a classic that
It's a
we'll revisit
classic.
over and over and over again.
They've been using the Pixel brand as their high-end brand for a few years now. If you
Okay.
wanted to get a Chromebook, that's one thing, but if you got a Pixel Chromebook, that was even better. So these are going to be their high-end phones. The rumors are that they're going to look at about $650 for a handset, which is
Is this going to be a special version of Android?
It may be a special version of Android. The rumors are not very clear right now, but we might be in the era where we are going to that hybrid between the Chrome operating system and the Android operating system. And we might see something about that on Tuesday, too.
How interesting.
It is
How
so
interesting.
I love watching those things. I know how boring they are to most people, but I love watching all of those presentations.
And so, Steve, on Monday, October 10th,
Yes.
what are we going to be doing?
We are going to the movie theater on October 10th. You should join us at your local movie theater. Fathom Events is presenting a movie called Batman, The Return of the Caped Crusaders. This is an animated Batman movie based on the original 1960s Batman TV show. It's got Adam West and Burt Ward, Julie Newmar. Oh,
Julie Newmar.
Julie Newmar.
We love Julie Newmar.
It's going to be fantastic. You should join us in your local theater. Go to fathomevents.com and find out all about that one. We love our Fathom Events.
Bam, poof, pow.
Zap. Wham. Fantastic.
Oh, what a beautiful thing that's going to be.
What a great morning this has been. Thank you to everybody who showed up here at the Blue Box Cafe in Elgin. It's beginning of the Southgate Media Group 14-hour podcast marathon. We are starting the game off right, and we'll see what happens for the next 14 hours, whether they can finish. They need to finish this race. We've got the parade was wonderful. You should have seen it. I don't know, Chip. I think we have enough information to survive another week. What do you think?
Only if we can come back next week.
Every Saturday night, come on out to the Blue Box Cafe and watch Rob Southgate and Southgate Media Group. They live podcast here every Saturday night. We will be here every once in a while, and we'll come out when we can and join in on all the fun. I want to thank you again for listening to Too Much Scrolling. If you need more information, there's so many ways to find more information. You can give us a call or a text. Our phone number is 805-4104-TMS. Our email is toomuchscrolling@gmail.com. Our website is toomuchscrolling.com. We're on Twitter and Instagram and Facebook. We're on iTunes and Stitcher and TuneIn Radio. And every day of the week, you can get all the news that you need on our news site, news.toomuchscrolling.com. I want to thank you again for listening to Too Much Scrolling. I'm Steve Fodor.
I'm Chip Hessenflow.
We'll see you in the future.